Humankind cannot gain anything without first giving something in return. To obtain something of equal value must first be lost. That is alchemy's first law of equivalent exchange.
This is our blood. From her blood. That's a fair trade. What's a soul, really?
Help them! Al, is that you?
My brother and I knew the laws of science. But we thought there was nothing more we could lose.
Wasn't that your dream all along? To one day use the stone to get back what you and your brother lost?
A simple rock, which promised to turn war into victory, and death into life.
I didn't teach you alchemy so you could echo my mistakes.
It was a thinking person's dream. Reason conquering all.
It's an impossible task for any ordinary alchemist. I'm no ordinary alchemist.
They're saying there's a champion of the people among the military dogs.
Tell me where he is now!
They won't go peacefully, then kick them out by force.
I thought we could bend the world any way we wanted.
You've got strong legs. You'll get up and use them, won't you, Ed?
Hello, my friends and fellow speakers. Oh, forgot my make me look wider. Maybe I don't need that. Maybe that's not a good look for me. I really don't need to be any wider. Welcome to Speaking with the Speaker. We are talking Full Metal Alchemist. If you didn't guess that from the intro, I am excited about this one. I'm excited about all anime, really. Not all of it. I've actually found some that I don't like, but we won't talk about those because they're awful. But no, those are pretty few and far between. But I want to bring in my guest today. He is my son. He is also a YouTuber in his own. So let's pull him in here and welcome Spartan072 to the stream.
Hello. Thanks for
having me. How are you, bud?
I'm doing pretty good.
Good. It's not like we didn't just see you at Sunday dinner, but hey.
What do you mean?
I don't know you. Welcome, Lady Mist. Thank you for being here, and Adega Outlaw and Jester of Sin. Glad that you guys could be here. Feel free to jump in and comment on things that you think we might be missing. This may be a little bit shorter stream today. I have a religious graduation for my daughter to go to. She's graduating from seminary today, and that happens here before too long. So we're going to try and cover as much of this as we can. If we don't get through everything we want to do, then we'll probably do a second show on this one, because there's a lot to unpack with this anime.
Oh, there's an enormous amount.
I mean, because there's
two animes.
And
several movies, at least one movie that I know of.
See, and
Lady Mist?
Yeah. And it's I can't remember if I've seen the movies or not. Seems like I have, but it's been a while ago since I actually saw the movies. And I did something horrible today, and I went and watched the live action version, or as much of it as I could tolerate, just to see just to see what I thought of it. And I was kind of really upset at myself that I actually went and did that, because it was not okay. I mean, bless their hearts for trying, but it's like you and I were talking earlier today, Spartan, that you just really cannot do.
You can't capture
you can't do live action versions of anime. At least nobody's ever pulled it off yet. I
assume the CGI and stuff for like the alchemic circles and stuff like that wasn't very good.
Oh, it was terrible. It was. I remember they show this scene where Ed's fighting Cornello, and the priest.
Father
and
Cornello.
And he claps his hands. He puts it on the ground. Like there's no electricity or anything when he claps his hands. Which is almost
that's normal.
Absolutely necessary. And then he puts his hands on the ground, and it was just like, a couple of seconds later, the ground started to move, and then he pulled a spear at, but it was just like if that was a real situation, he'd have been dead by the time he pulled that spear out of the ground, because it was just so it was really slow, really. The everybody in it is of Asian descent. I don't know I don't know if they use Chinese actors, Japanese actors. I'm not sure. The voiceover for it, like the actual dubbing, is really bad. It was like watching the old Godzilla movies. Mouths not matching up with the words at all. Now,
that throws things off.
And I was sitting there watching it, and I was thinking, I wonder if this is what, people who are not English speakers go through when they're watching Hollywood-made movies that have been dubbed into their language, and that's just something that they have to deal with. And I was sitting there thinking, oh, I'm kind of spoiled if I can't deal with this at all. And yet, we went and saw Demon Slayer in subtitles, and I didn't mind it nearly as much. It didn't seem nearly as much like the mouths were off, when they were speaking. I don't know if animation just kind of makes that better or what exactly.
I think it might be because they're drawing them talking anyway, and then it's not going to be exact.
Yeah.
Your mind just kind of deals with it, but with
it fills in the blanks.
With like a live action, it's how it's kind of supposed to be. So seeing a live action would throw you off.
Yeah. So I mean, it's just go take a look at it. Tell me if I'm wrong, but I had not wanted to see it just for that very reason. Went and took a look at it today, and I was just like, yeah, no, that's because I've been watching the original Full Metal Alchemist this week to kind of prepare for this stream. I've watched Brotherhood probably more than I have watched the original now. And it's kind of funny because because I'd watched the original, and then when Brotherhood came out, or, got to where I could actually watch it, I was kind of sitting there thinking, I don't like Brotherhood as much. And now I like Brotherhood more. So I don't know how you felt about that, Spartan. Is that what you went through, or did you see Brotherhood first?
I watched the Full Metal Alchemist first, and then I watched Brotherhood, and I liked Brotherhood a bit more than the original, because the action and how things were drawn out was a little better for me. So it wasn't very difficult for me to grow accustomed to it, I guess. Yeah, I didn't have an issue with it when I first started watching Brotherhood.
Okay. Yeah, I just and they both have their goods and their bads. I mean, you
kind of have to watch both.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't watch the original, when you watch Brotherhood, you're going to be a little lost in some of the parts, because they refer to like the Uswell mine and the story with Yogi and all that stuff. They refer to it in Brotherhood, but you don't actually see those episodes. And so that, if you hadn't watched the first one, you'd be like, who is this guy? And why does he hate Edward Elric so bad? And it's like, well, you kind of get it when, if you've seen the first one. If you haven't, you're going to be a little lost. But I also found with the original, as I was rewatching it this week, there's a lot more diversion stories, like that don't really carry on to the main story. There's the episode where there's the thief. It's really funny. It's kind of a fun story.
When they steal the arm of Ed?
No, it's there's the girl named Siren, and she's in this town, and she announces her things that she's going to steal, and Ed and Al get kind of drawn into her circle.
The one who dresses kind of like a cat.
Yeah. And
okay,
so,
yeah, I remember
that story has absolutely really nothing to do with the main storyline running through it. It's just a fun kind of diversive story, and I found that the original the original Full Metal Alchemist did that a lot more, as where Brotherhood is a lot more focused. It does not go off on side trips very much. It is very
Maybe
going.
because it's the second one and they'd expect like most people had seen the first one. So they're like, okay, these people already kind of know what these characters are like, which I'd imagine what those kind of side stories are mainly for is creating in-depth for your main characters.
Yeah, giving them more background and stuff. Yeah, and that's what I got.
Experience more things.
But I mean, if you didn't see the original, then I think Brotherhood's going to suffer for it.
A little bit.
But I mean, I think you could still watch Brotherhood and still be like, whatever. and just carry on and be like, okay, Yugi hates him for some unknown reason. We don't know what's going on there, but
Yugi hates him. It makes sense.
That was the funny part in Brotherhood. I really kind of liked Yugi's character, as where in the original he was just kind of an annoyance. And I found that they did that with several characters in Brotherhood. They kind of altered their storyline a little bit and made them more integral to the story and made them more fun. Like Prisoner 66, he gets killed. The guy with the skull face, who is actually Barry the Chopper.
That guy.
Yeah, he gets kind of killed in like a random way in the original, as where in Brotherhood he actually kind of joins the good guy's side for a while and gets killed in a completely different manner, and it really kind of added to his character, and it made me like him as a character, which is weird that you can say I kind of like the serial killer guy after after they did it in Brotherhood. So
that's fair.
But yeah, so let's kind of introduce everybody. For those, I'm sure everybody's seen this that's watching, but for those who haven't, we're going to introduce you to some of the main characters. Let me pull up this screen here. We'll add this. I don't know if you guys are going to be able to. Let me see if I can make that. Oh yeah, gee, that's way better. This is like a quarter of an inch bigger. So we've got Edward Elric, Alphonse Eldrick, Roy Mustang, Winry Rockbell. Then we get Envy. And then Ling Yao is in Brotherhood, not in the original. He doesn't appear in the original. Nope. Then we've got Greed, Olivier, which I don't know why they spelled that way.
Armstrong?
Maria Armstrong. She doesn't appear in the original either. But then we have Riza Hawkeye. And
I think it's Risa.
Risa, that's right. God, they've got it spelled kind of either that or it's just the way I'm pronouncing it. It's probably the way I'm pronouncing it. I do that terrible with anime.
Possibly.
Then we've got Führer King Bradley, Nina Tucker, which that's a really tragic story in both lines.
Yeah, there's no way around that.
And one of the that creeped me out. The first time I was watching this, and she speaks and the music in the background, I'm just like, I felt like my skin was crawling. I'm just like, what is happening? About it gave me
goosebumps.
It's just like, I mean, and that's one of the ways you can tell how good this actually is when it can give you that kind of a visceral reaction like that. I mean, you know that they've done something really awesome.
Oh yeah.
But and then we've got Hohenheim. Hohenheim of Light, he's referred to a lot in the first one.
I think is it occasionally in the second one? I don't remember.
I don't remember if he gets called that a lot in the second one, but in the first one, I rember hearing that quite often. And then we've got Scar, and then one of my favorite characters, Alex Louis Armstrong. He is, oh my gosh, he is so tremendous.
What was that?
Oh, it was nothing, sir.
Your behavior is most suspicious.
I just love him. He's like, somebody's like, oh, I'm not feeling very good. Well, let me show you he does this great big pose. My muscles will cure you.
He loses his shirt and just
he rips it. Why is your shirt off? The characters are always saying stuff like that. It's like, well, because he's Alex Louis Armstrong.
And he's just super over the top.
Yeah, he is awesome.
And
then we've got Safet J. Kimbley, which he is a creepy, psychotic character in both of these, but it's awesome.
Yeah, I agree with you, Jester of Sin.
Yes.
As Ling is awesome.
Yeah. both versions of Greed is cool, but when Ling takes on the persona, it gets even better. Then we've got one of the homunculus is Gluttony, and Izumi Curtis, which she's freaking hilarious as their teacher too, in both the original and in Brotherhood. Just, I mean, imagine having a teacher like that. Like,
attacked by
she
attacking
shows
you?
up and Ed's
A
trying to
housewife.
climb out the window and gets punched back into the room
Oh, I remember that.
by his teacher.
Oh,
Oh, she is tremendous. Just a fun character. And they did a lot more with her in the set in Brotherhood, which I liked. You know, she becomes one of the sacrifices and all that kind of stuff. Maria Ross is another character that they use a lot more in Brotherhood.
and she was actually in that clip you just showed.
Yeah, and then she was in that with I can't remember the other lieutenant's
Gene
name.
Havoc.
No, that's not Havoc. That's because Havoc.
Show over here.
I don't see him in this list,
Yeah.
but he's not really a main character. She
No.
is. He's more of just you can tell he's in love with her most of the time, but like neither one of them will admit it. And then we've got Salim Bradley, which he's not in in the original. He's in Brotherhood, which I really liked that character too. What they did with him in Brotherhood. So. So we got somebody see. Okay. Hello, Speaker for the Dead. Can I have a request from you? Can you show the full design with full screen standing and remove the microphone, by the way? Nice tease you have there. No, because I'm fat and I don't want you to see my belly. So no.
Come on. It'll be fine.
All right, let me just suck it in here. All right, let me pull the microphone out of the way. If I stand up too far, I'll go out of the frame of the camera. But here's
they really just want to see the T.
Yeah. So you've got Genos on this side, and you've got One Punch Man right there. So
Don't you have a backside to that shirt?
It's the same. It's the exact same on the front and the back, which is one of the things I really like about this shirt. In fact, I was in a truck stop one day because that's what I do for a living. For those of you who don't know, I was in a truck stop in Illinois, and this short little black lady came up to me and she's like, "I love that T-shirt. That is so cool." And we got into this big conversation about anime, standing there in front of the pop machines. It was fun, and that's one of the reasons I love these shirts, because it gives you that opportunity to, see. And get involved with other people who you'd never think were anime fans, because I probably don't really look like an anime fan when I'm in my trucker normality kind of thing. But that's the fun thing that you totally can be. Hail Brightest Day, thank you for jumping in. And I want to say his name, but I'm afraid I'll just slaughter. I think it's Apizia bin Sinim. I am sorry, Lord. I apologize. I have probably just slaughtered your name. But thank you for being here. I'm terrible with you should hear me pronounce some of the anime characters' names. My daughters who come in here periodically are just like, "Dad, it's this, it's not that." So yeah, people make fun of how I pronounce these names. But then we get to one of my other favorite characters in this, and that's Gene Havoc. And mainly for this reason. There's one particular scene, actually there's a couple scenes with him and Colonel Mustang, where Colonel Mustang is like, "Once I become Fuhrer, I will require all women to wear miniskirts." And Gene Havoc runs over and starts loving on the leg of the Colonel. He's like, "I'll follow you anywhere, Colonel." It is so tremendous. And then there's another part where in Brotherhood where Gene Havoc is dating Lust and doesn't realize it. And she's just like, "Yeah, you always were a sucker for big boobs, Gene or Havoc." And he's like, "I can't help it. I love him." It's so awesome. The vocal work in this anime is really, really good. I mean, we've got Oh, I just lost his name. The guy that plays Edward Alphonse. Great. Now, he's one of my favorites. Every time I get to hear him in something.
Also, you're not showing the screen of the characters.
Oh, I'm not. That's right.
It's
I
just
changed it
you.
to show my horrible body. So yeah, there we go. Get the characters back. Oh my gosh, I can't think of his name. That's gonna bug me. Anyway, you guys probably know who I'm talking about. He does a lot of vocal work for anime.
Romy Parker, right?
Now that's I think that's the Japanese.
The Japanese voice actor.
Yeah, the Japanese vocal actor for these is what's listed under here.
Probably.
But yeah, he's just this is what happens when you get old. Your brain starts shutting down right when you need the information, and yeah, so I apologize. But the guy that does the voice of Roy Mustang is just really the guy that does Alex Louis Armstrong. They're all like very familiar and stuff, but they're just great. We also have Tim Marco, who plays one of the doctors who helped research the Philosopher's Stone. Then we got Yogi, there he is. Then we've got Kane Fury. My favorite part with Kane Fury is the part where he's trying to find an owner for the little puppy dog, and every single one of them have something crazy to say about this dog, and he keeps taking it away from everybody because they're all just like nuts. He tries to give it to Mustang, and then he tries to give it to I can't remember who else. Yeah, I think he tries to give it to Havoc, and Havoc's like, yes, those are great. I hear they go really good with carrots. He's like, no! And he takes the dog back, and he ends up finally giving it to Hawkeye, and the dog's peeing on the wall, and Hawkeye unloads her pistol all around the dog, and the dog's standing there
with its paws up,
its hands up, and he's just like, oh, and he's like, you will never do that again, will you? And Fury's just like, all of you people are crazy. Anyway, then we've got Valto Fallman, which he's not a main, like he's kind of there, and they did more with him in Brotherhood as well, especially where they send him to the north. So he ends up serving under Olivier Armstrong up there. Then we've got Baido. He's one of the Chimeras. We've got Hyman Breda, which I like him, but he's not really a main character.
Yeah,
either.
he's not. He's kind of a side. He's just there.
Yes, Jester of Sin, yummy puppy. It's one of the things I do love about anime is the dry sense of humor that a lot of them have, because that's very much how a lot of way my sense of humor works. So I love that, go in one direction and then suddenly you veered off onto something completely different, and it's tremendous. But then we've got General Grundman, which they don't do hardly anything with him in the original, and then they do quite a lot with him in Brotherhood. He actually ends up becoming the Fuhrer.
In the first one, I think he just is there for one or two scenes.
Yeah, he's just basically there in Eastern Command, and you see him playing chess with Colonel Mustang, and that's pretty much it. And then we have Zampano, who's and he's in Brotherhood. He's one of the Chimeras, and Jerso, he's one of the Chimeras. And then we've got, and I can't remember how you say his name, is Dulcedo, I think, but he's the dog Chimera that runs with greed.
Yep.
So,
and
then we've got Sarah Rockbell, which I think that's
Winry's
mother, I think. And then we've got Buccaneer.
You don't really see her much at all.
Yeah, you don't really see much, or
you only see it in a flashback once because they both got killed.
Yeah, and then Buccaneer, which you don't see him at all in the original, and then he's a fairly good part of the story of the North in Brotherhood. So, and those are the really the main characters that I wanted to pull up and kind of talk to everybody about here. This anime has it all. It has really good music. They do a song that's in it that's very haunting, that they use a harmonica, like kind of the harmonica the work that they used in the film The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, if you've ever seen that. And it's just kind of a haunting melody that they use during kind of the sadder moments of the film. It's very simple, very, very uncomplicated, but it kind of gets inside of you and makes you, feel the sadness of whatever moment that they're using it in. And then there's, the music, as I've said before, with anime, it seems like they really focus in on music. That they do not skimp when it comes to making sure that the music is everything it needs to be. Because that's where you get all the emotion for your film or your TV show.
Make or break a lot of scenes. Just like if you play something that's out of place for the scene, it can really throw it off. But if you play something that's just right for it, then it's like it makes those scenes like 10 times better.
Yes, it does.
And they would have been on just their own.
So if you had to pick a favorite character from both series, either the original or Brotherhood, like who would you pick? And this is I'm asking the chat as well. Throw out and if you can't choose, that's okay. But if you've got a favorite, who would you pick?
I like Armstrong, but I got to go with Maze Hughes.
Oh, and see, he's not on this list. I don't know why he's not, but
That's a good point. He wasn't.
I did. Yeah, you said that, and I'm like, he's not on here. So, and he's one of the. Through at least half of it, he's one of the main characters.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yes, he is. Oh, I'd forgotten about him. But so why do you like him? Like, talk about some of the moments and stuff that he's.
He's a really good father and husband to his wife and daughter. He's just, here's a cute little picture of my darling, my darling Elisa.
With his daughter is just hilarious.
And in the original one, when
Sheska,
when that one person was working for him.
Yep, Sheska,
and she's like, "Do I get a raise? Here's a lovely picture of my cute little daughter." And then he closes the door.
Water. She is. He is absolutely hilarious, and I love how like dual-sided he is. Like he'll be really serious, and then just absolutely goofy the next moment. So his character flip sides a lot, but like it makes perfect sense because he's trying to put up a facade so that people don't realize that he's trying to help Mustang become the Fuhrer. And so he doesn't want people to take him too seriously. And that, so, so he's a great one. So Jester of Sin is saying Greed, all versions is my favorite. And I have to agree that he is a great character. Greed is a fun character. And in any of his variations, he is a good character. Pardon me. Mine, it's a toss-up between two. It's a toss-up between Mustang and Edward. Mainly with Edward, it's because of his reactions to being called short. It's so tremendous. He has the worst case of little man disease ever seen in any anime that I've watched anyway. And just every time, he's like, "Hey, who's the short guy? What do you mean? What are you saying about the runt so small that you can't see him with a magnifying glass?" And he like blows whatever they've said just like completely out of proportion. And they're standing there like, "I didn't say that." But yeah, he is funny, and he's a complex character. He's he's dealing with the loss of his mother, trying to get his own body repaired, but more concerned about bringing his brother's body back. And I really like that part of him. With Roy Mustang, he's kind of like Hughes in that way, that he's got kind of a funny, whimsical side, but he is more serious. And like when we get to the flame part where he is burning lust to death, that is one of the most intense scenes in any anime that I've ever seen, where he's just standing there and you can just see the rage and he's just snapping, just exploding her every couple of seconds.
During Brotherhood.
Yeah, and that's in Brotherhood.
Lust
but I mean,
that was attacking Risa and Ed.
Yeah.
Or Al.
And he just trashes her. And it is, I mean, it is one of the most epic takedown scenes, you know, and he's had to burn his own side just because he was injured.
And he's using a lighter, and
he
carved alchemic symbol in his hand.
Yeah, because his gloves were destroyed. His
so he had
ignition gloves.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. And Jester of Sin is saying no other character can go from bad guy to good guy to bored to leave. Yes, he does. He is, yeah. And see, there's a lot of characters like that in this anime. They are so complicated, and there's so many different sides to them. It's like what I said with Prisoner 66 or Barry the Chopper. Like he has that. He goes from being a serial killer, which they don't really discuss that in Brotherhood like they do in the original. That's one of those things that they kind of leave and hoping that you've seen the original to go, you know. And so, but I mean, he's still one of those characters who starts out as a serial killer, a bad guy, and then turns and becomes kind of a good guy for most of it. Dee Dee Myers, thanks for popping in. Yeah, complicated characters are the best. They're just, it just gives you, because all of us are complicated. We all have those moments where we feel like the good guy or we feel
Scar.
like the bad guy, or, you know, Scar. He's another perfect example. And he's another one that's not in this character list. I think
he was.
Was he? Oh, yes, he was. Sorry.
And then Lust in the original one was also kind of like that.
Yes.
So much more towards the end.
Yeah, Lust was a lot better in the original one, I thought, than what they did with her in Brotherhood. And Envy's story gets a lot bigger in Brotherhood, and stuff. And when he ends up becoming the little worm and stuff, you know, and you almost feel bad for him. And I'm like, this horrible character, and yet they make you feel bad for this horrible character who's murdered all these people, been involved in all these terrible things, and yet you're just like, oh man, he's a little worm.
I still kind of can't feel too bad for him because he killed Hughes.
Yeah.
So I'm just like,
he killed one of the best characters. But yeah, I mean, it's just there is really, so we've already kind of talked about which one we think is the best. So if you had to pick could you pick a good episode from both, one from each that you kind of stands out to you? I know that's kind of hard to try and be like, I remember. A while. Yeah.
Let's see.
Because I'm trying
in
to
the
think.
Original one, I like the episode where he's not married yet and he goes and visits Mustang after the war, and Mustang's just in a bad spot. He's thinking about doing human alchemy.
I was just watching that one earlier today.
To him and I'll help you boost you up. And in Brotherhood, I can't think of one right now, unfortunately.
That's okay. It's kind of putting you on the spot, and there's a lot. I can't remember how many episodes there are between both series, but it's quite a few. I think 100. I would have a hard time deciding which one I like the best. I think one of my favorites is later in the original series where everything's starting to move. They're actually starting to try and take on the Fuhrer, and try and Armstrong's in the trenches, and then they're, you know, they've kind of lied to the soldiers to get them to go against the Fuhrer and stuff, and he's like, well, if you're feeling bad, I'll he rips his shirt off and he does this big thing again. Anytime Armstrong starts doing that, it just makes me laugh, and I just it's
Is this
so
when
awesome.
they're chasing Ed and Al?
I think so. I can't. It's when they're fighting in Central and stuff.
This is the original one, right?
Yeah, this is the original. So it starts to differ towards the end of, towards the end they really start to diverge. Brotherhood and the original go in completely different directions, which is one of the reasons I like Brotherhood, because it narrows down and it seems to come to a conclusion, as where with the original it just leaves it like wide open, and it's just like, oh, we're done. They just cut it off, and I'm like, wait, what? He just got put into our world, which I thought that was fascinating. I would have loved to have seen what they would have had to do to get him back into his original world, or if it was even possible without alchemy, because he comes to our world where alchemy doesn't work. And so, or at least it's something we never followed. We went down a different trajectory with science. And I thought that was an interesting, that was something that they could have gone off on and stuff like that, because it leaves everything hanging up in the air. Al's still in the metal suit. Edward's stuck in a different world. Hohenheim's stuck in a different world.
Al's not in the metal suit. His body's we're talking about the original one, right?
Yeah.
So
Have I got that wrong? Am I remembering that wrong?
Yeah, Ed did some alchemic thing on himself, put his body in our world, and put Ed into their world, but he hasn't aged at all because his body was.
Oh, that's right. Yep. I apologize. Yeah, that's for some reason I'm remembering. I never made it through the whole thing again this week. I'm only about halfway.
Because Al was becoming the Philosopher's Stone, and he used it to save his brother.
Oh, that's right. Because because in the original, Scar actually he makes a huge circle around the city of it's where Cornella was.
I don't remember.
Anyway, and then Scar actually dies helping create the Philosopher's Stone inside of Alphonse. If I'm remembering that right, if I'm wrong,
that's right.
But yeah, it's just, there's so many aspects, and I really liked in Brotherhood what they did with Hohenheim, because you see a lot more of Hohenheim in Brotherhood, and kind of you get a feel for who he really was and what really happened, and you get his backstory, as where in the original
you get a little bit of backstory, but it's not.
It's more dialogue backstory instead of actually being shown what happened with him in the past. But I mean, both of them are tremendous in their own way. I really like them both, but I do like Brotherhood a little bit better now. If anybody in the chat knows of has a favorite episode, go ahead and call it out, because that's what we're looking for. We're just looking for. I'm trying to think of one in Brotherhood that really sticks out to me.
The fight against the father.
Oh, you being towards the very end?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That was impressive. And also when the soldiers were fighting against Fuhrer Bradley.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's kind of a monster.
He's really a monster, and you wouldn't... And in Brotherhood, when he just tears Greed a new one, man, that is terrifying.
Yeah, and then you watch Greed get melted down and put back into Father. I mean, it's just like, oh my gosh, this is some wicked concepts they're dealing with here. I mean, it's just.
It was also kind of funny when Olivier and Alex were fighting for the house, and their family's just casually walking out, talking about their pets.
I think we'll go on vacation to the south of. They're leaving in the house, and you see shaking back and forth.
just banging and explosions from their fight.
I love it because
And then
you see in the
Alex-
background, she's walking across the hall, dragging Alex like he's a bag of luggage, and he's like, "Oh no!" Oh my gosh, it is really funny. I did kind of dislike the way they make Alex look kind of pathetic and weak in Brotherhood, but I mean, you know.
He's not a very aggressive person.
Yeah, and he never was. I mean, he didn't agree with what they were doing in Ishval. He never deserted, but he didn't want to be a part of that really either. So, and that's another thing. The whole storyline behind the Ishval people is so sad and tragic. Especially the stuff with Scar and his older brother in the original one, where I mean, you see that his brother did everything he did to try and bring back Lust, or the woman who was Lust. And that's where Lust ends up coming from in the original one. Completely different storyline to the second, to Brotherhood. In Brotherhood, they're all parts of Father. In the original, they're all failed attempts at human transmutation that are fed the crystals and then, brought back that way. Which is really sad because in the original, you actually see Ed and Al's mother come back and basically tell them she doesn't want them. Which, and they realize pretty quickly that that's not actually her. That's
her mother is trying to say that I'm not a person, that no mother would actually do this to their child.
Yeah.
And also they changed some of the names or what the homunculus are. Because in the original, Bradley is Pride. Yeah,
he's Pride in both of them.
No.
Oh no, he's not. He's Wrath in Brotherhood.
Because in the original, that little kid
is Wrath. Yeah.
Some of them stay the same, and then some of the others kind of change around a bit.
Yeah, and they kind of...
Sloth is this giant freaking monster of a man.
Yeah. Well, and then the Pride is that creepy mouth and eyeballs thing that shows up in the shadows. And
that's a...
Oh, my gosh. He's Pride, right? No.
Yeah, Yes. But... that's an ability he does. It's Bradley's kid.
Yeah. Yep.
I can't remember his name.
Salim Bradley is actually that. It is the creepiest homunculus out of all of them.
Oh my.
And then Sloth in Brotherhood is different because Sloth in the original is Ed and Alphonse's mother, and Sloth in Brotherhood is the big, this is a pain. He wanders around saying that like the entire time, and he's this huge monster of a guy, and they freeze him in the north. And I mean, that storyline is just tremendous, and how they use him. I mean, he's not a huge character in it, but I mean,
you don't really see him much until mid, and then he disappears, and then you see him again in the end.
Yeah, and then you see him come around. But scene. I mean, it's just like I said, what they did with the characters and how they diverged the storylines between the two. I mean, they took, it really kind of becomes a what if scenario. And I mean, it's like they took the Star Wars sequel trilogy and went, what if we did this and we didn't screw it up and we actually made something good? Except in this case, both of them were good. They just went in different directions. And in that one, only one of them would be good. But yeah, anyway, but and that's the amazing thing is, and that's when you've got an amazing creative team behind a project, is when they can take the same characters for basically the same storyline, change some things up, alter the endings, and make two fantastic stories that stand completely on their own. I mean, most people they can't do that. They can't even make a decent story the first time around, and these guys did it twice. So
and they
with
introduced new characters.
and introduced new characters like Ling. Ling is a fantastic character.
And the little girl.
Hypoglycemia, where he's like, if he doesn't eat all the time, he falls down, and then he's always trying to charge Ed for the food that he's eating, and Ed's always mad at him. It's tremendous, and it's just those little changes and little additions and stuff that really make gluttony between the original and Brotherhood. I mean, the original, he just eats a lot, and he's just this this monster of a character, and then
super loyal to lust.
Yeah, and then in the second one, he's actually a failed gate. Like when he splits open, and because there's the eye in his chest, and he sucks up huge areas. I mean, it's just like, man, somebody's got a wicked cool imagination.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they're just and what they did with Kimley. I mean, they're just fantastic characters all the way around. And like I said, they completely changed Yogi's storyline and actually made him a good, moderately decent, likable character. As where in the original, there was nothing to like about him.
No, he was just an annoying, narcissistic prick.
Yeah.
There's Tucker. Oh, what's his name?
Oh, Shao Tucker. He is in line for the worst father of all time award.
I think he is he's pretty high up there on that list.
He is one of the only things about the original that I really didn't like. I like the fact that in Brotherhood, he gets killed, his storyline ends, and that's it. I think in the original, they carried his character and that storyline.
Yeah, they kind of run along for a while.
Way too long. Like, just kill him off already.
Yeah, and they made him some kind of weird chimera thing.
Yeah, and he's like, his head's on upside down, and it's like, wow, I didn't think he could get any creepier, but you guys pulled it off. Good one, I guess. And make him a monster on the outside as well as the inside too.
Yes, Happy Dinosaur. That was it?
Yes, yeah. The dad who turned his daughter into a chimera with their dog.
Tucker.
We were talking about that a little earlier, and how creepy that sequence is in both. In both of them.
Just get chills and freaking.
Every time I hear that voice, I'm just like, oh yeah, that's gonna give me nightmares. But anyway, I just this anime gets if you had to rate this one, what would you give it out of 10?
Both of them or individual?
Yeah, let's do them individually.
The first one, 7. Not terrible, but it's really good, but it's not
unsatisfactory
as good
ending.
As it could have been. Yeah. And then Brotherhood, 8 or 9.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with that. I think the original gets like a 7.5, and the Brotherhood probably gets a 9.5 in my book. They're both good. Brotherhood just edges out the other one because basically they stay more focused to the real story, and then you actually get a real ending from Brotherhood. I mean, they still kind of leave it open because Ed and Alphonse both go off on their own to learn things and stuff, and so they're growing as characters even at the end, as opposed to the other one where it just like the story just stops and leaves you hanging with complete unknowns about what happened to the characters. And I never really cared for that. I was just like, no, you need to make a movie or something to tie that off. I don't know. I guess I'm one of those guys that kind of likes things put in a pretty little bow at the end, or at least
I do like an ending, or at least an ending that's acceptable, but still kind of leaves room.
Yeah, but leaves it open.
Both still young, so they still have plenty of stuff to do.
But yeah, so Jester Sin disagrees with us here, but you're wrong. No, just kidding, Jester. Just kidding. No,
Brotherhood is about the same as mine.
Yeah. So I mean, I really give Brotherhood a lot. Because it grew on me over time. Like I said, at first, when I first saw Brotherhood, I did not like it as well. I was like, wait, you're missing all these storylines, and there's these parts that I was like, no, you missed the story of Yugi. But as I went on, I started to realize they just went back and cut off all of the excess that wasn't needed to tell that main story. And so yeah, it's
and the relationship with their father was a lot better.
Yeah. When Hohenheim comes back into the picture, because he really, I mean, in the original, as far as I remember,
he's there for like 2 episodes.
Yeah, he doesn't even really interact with his sons.
Like the only interaction he really has is when Ed punches him in the face and then drops down and kicks him in the gut for saying he doesn't like. He can see he doesn't like milk.
I forgot about that. The whole milk thing. I don't like milk. Well, and I like in Brotherhood how you actually start to see Edward age. He actually starts to get older, as where in the original, he's kind of the same in the beginning as the end, at least physically.
Yeah, and like
he really doesn't change.
Towards the end of Brotherhood, you can see that he is taller than Winry.
Yeah, and he's actually, I like the fact that they allude to the fact that he is realizing that he likes Winry. Because he's kind of been fighting against that for most of the time. But like at the end of Brotherhood, you kind of get a sense that he's realizing, yeah, I kind of do love her. And I liked that. I was like, it gives that warm, fuzzy touch to leave you, with that storyline. It feels a little bit more complete. But Lady Mist, I liked all of it. Yeah, me too. I like it all. It's just I like some of it a little better than others and stuff. But yeah, it's tremendous.
And they didn't do much with Laboratory 5 in Brotherhood, did they?
Not nearly as much as they did in the original. In the original, you see Ed actually almost make a Philosopher's Stone at Laboratory 5. And then things go wrong and it doesn't actually happen. And then he gets pulled out at the last second, as where they kind of introduce you to Prisoner 66 and Prisoner 48. Yeah. Which I love that. I love the Prisoner 48 in both of them. The fact that he's a dual suit of armor with 2 brothers inside one suit.
I think we should probably explain that 66 and 48 are both like Al.
Yeah, they're like Al. Souls attached to bodies of armor. But yeah, sorry. I keep trying to wrap the show up, and then I keep thinking, oh, but wait, I didn't talk about that.
There's this and this, and we can also talk about this and this and that.
Yeah, so, I mean, seriously, you could go on with this anime literally for hours because there's just so much to cover between the I mean, really, I probably could do one on each particular series,
each one individually.
But where we're just kind of doing a general overview, I kind of wanted to be able to do that discuss because I knew it would happen anyway. You're always going to end up comparing the two. So I thought there's no way I can keep those separate in my head for an entire show because I'll keep comparing them.
And now I'm just thinking about the different ways the homunculus die in the different versions.
Yeah, they're very different. Like what happens to Lust in the original. It was really sad. All she wanted to do is become a human, and she ends up getting killed before she can make that happen. And she's another one that kind of turns more to the being good than being evil, and which is a different side of the homunculus than you normally get to see.
And in the original one, the homunculus get killed when they're weakened by when they're by part of the body that they were made.
Their original body. Yeah, and then they've got the stones, and if they get put within an alchemist array, like they shuck up all their stones, which is basically their life, and then they die.
Then they can be killed.
As where in Brotherhood, they kind of have a sorcerer's stone as a core,
and they only have so much life that they can use before they'll die.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a lot of differences and stuff, but so that's kind of where we've got to leave here for this week. Like I said, I apologize for cutting this one a little short. It's not a lot short, but I've got an appointment thing that I have to be to. Thank you all for being here today and participating. This is a tremendous anime. Thank you, Spartan, for being willing to be here today with me.
Thanks for inviting me.
I
Probably a good
appreciate
thing
it.
we kind of got to wrap up a bit early because we could just go on and on.
Yeah,
and on.
because everybody be like, "Are they still talking?" It's been
Are
4
you
hours.
two still living?
that's a good reference from what was it?
How the Grinch Stole Christmas.
How the Grinch Stole Christmas. Yeah, are you two still living? Anyway, thanks everybody for being here. I you know, and anime is just so fantastic. There's just not enough that can be said about it, really. So, and we're gonna send you out with the same intro video we had before. So if you didn't get to see it, you'll get a chance to see it. This was a trailer and then something I put together on top of it. But thanks for being here. Next week, as an announcement real quick, I will not be here. We are going camping up in the mountains and there is no cell signal where we're going. So
No cell
complete
signal? What are we going to do?
I know, away from phones. No. So, but what I'm going to try and do is pre-record something, and I think what we're going to talk about is the film Spirited Away, which is a Studio Ghibli by Hayao Miyazaki. So I'm going to do just a pre-recorded show for that at the same time, 5:00, and we'll talk about that. I've been wanting to talk about his films for a while, and decided that's I'm finally gonna do that. So, but it will just be a pre-recorded episode. But you can leave your comments and whatever. We'll do it as a premiere. So, thanks everybody, and we will talk to you next week. Bye now.
Bye.
Humankind cannot gain anything without first giving something in return. To obtain something of equal value must first be lost. That is alchemy's first law of equivalent exchange.
This is our blood. From her blood. That's a fair trade. What's a soul, really?
Help them.
Is that you?
My brother and I knew the laws of science. But we thought there was nothing more we could lose.
Wasn't that your dream all along? To one day use the stone to get back what you and your brother lost?
A simple rock, which promised to turn war into victory, and death into life.
I didn't teach you alchemy so you could echo my mistakes.
It was a thinking person's dream. Reason conquering all.
It's an impossible task for any ordinary alchemist.
I'm no ordinary alchemist.
They're saying there's a champion of the people among the military dogs.
Tell me where he is now!
They won't go peacefully. Then kick them out by force.
Thought we could bend the world any way we wanted.